Hello and welcome to this week's secondary assembly. So we're a day early because of the bank holiday on Friday, which hopefully you're all aware is VE Day, so marking the 75th anniversary of victory in Europe. Now, this is, an interesting time for all of us. We're all stuck at home. I'm lucky enough to have a garden, so it's getting to spend a lot of time out here, spending a lot of time with my family. It's different. It's quite hard at times, but I hope we're all staying safe and following the guidelines. Remember, lots of talk at the moment in the media about schools going back. We don't know when, so don't worry, don't speculate, don't concern yourself with it until you hear from government and hear from ourselves how we're going back, when we're going back, and what's going to be happening. So how are we going to celebrate VE Day and why is it so relevant? Well, the way I'm looking at it is VE Day, the end of the 6 years of the Second World War, and then the world got back to normal, and we ended up where we are now. The world is not normal at the moment, but hopefully, learning from what we learned from VE Day, we can actually move to a new normal, a different normal, a better normal in the future once this is all over and we can return to school, parents can return to work, and we can see our families again. So think about keeping yourself safe at this time. Think about keeping yourself happy. Think about your mental state. Get yourself out of the house. Go for that hour's walk or run or bike ride. Do some exercise inside. Do some yoga. Do some mindfulness. Whatever works for you. Remember, we're all here for you still. I'm here at the end of an email. Miss Eda's as well for years 8 and 9, years 10 and 11. Miss Potts, Miss Messenger. And to year 7, you've got Miss Hermans and Mrs Wade. We're all here, we're all ready, we're all on the end of an email. We can phone your parents, we can phone you back, we can speak to you. We can always make sure that you've got someone there to support you and help you through this time. Have a go at your schoolwork, try not to get too far behind. If you're worried, if you're struggling, contact your tutors, contact your teachers. Just do the best you can with the time you've got. Try and keep on top of things, and then when we return to school, everyone will be in the best position to go forwards and really move on from this time. So, without further ado, on to the main part of the assembly, looking at VE Day, what it is, what it means to us, and really think about how you can mark it, how you can celebrate it. Maybe people are having a stay-at-home street party in your street, maybe you want to look online, find some resources, make some bunting, decorate the house, but do still remember this is an important time that we need to mark, whether we're able to celebrate with friends and family or whether we're doing it in the safety and security of our own homes. So please, until the next assembly next week, stay safe, keep yourselves, occupied, keep your minds busy, learn a new skill, do something different, and try your best to enjoy these times. So thank you very much, and on with the main assembly. Okay, so it's the 30th of April, 75 years ago, and the Allied troops are now closing in and surrounding Berlin. Adolf Hitler, the leader of Nazi Germany, has now got to accept the inevitable defeat. Over the coming days, he then committed suicide in his underground bunker, paving the way for Grand Admiral Karl Dönitz negotiating an end to the war. Now, this happened on the 7th of May. So this happened, on the day that you are watching this assembly. This is it. 6 years of war and is now coming to an end. Now we can start to celebrate. Victory in Europe Day was the 8th of May, the day after, to mark the formal acceptance of Nazi Germany's surrender. Truly a day to savour and a collective relief. The war was finally over. People could return home. People who'd been evacuated could return home. The bombing would stop. We're going to have a similar thing once lockdown is fully over. It's going to be like our own Victory Day. We will be able to sort of continue with normal life eventually. So, these are 9 things that you need to know, or you could know, about VE Day. VE Day is victory in Europe. It is not actually the end of World War II. Fighting is still going on. What we then need to move towards was what happened on the 15th of August, which was VJ Day, victory over Japan. We were still involved in a war with Japan. However, that war had not really made it to the shores of the UK yet. That was still being fought in the Far East. So for the people of England, fundamentally, the war was over for them at home. Obviously, we'd agreed to mark the 9th of May as VE Day, and the celebrations then started early because the news was leaked. People found out about it, and people celebrated early. Now, one parallel to draw here with our current situation, the media constantly going on about the end of lockdowns, schools returning, all of these dates. What I'd really sort of urge you all to do, take a bit of caution. Let's not celebrate early. Let's not come out early. Let's not do anything till we stay safe. Now, as it happened in this example, absolutely fine. But for us, we need to really follow those guidelines and not go out too early. So, late on the 7th of May, BBC Radio News Flash announced the next day would be a national holiday. And this is why the 8th of May this year, so tomorrow, that is now going to be our bank holiday. It's been moved to celebrate VE Day rather than the May Day bank holiday for the 75th anniversary. This was when Britain came back to life. Up until now, people have been staying in their homes, people had only been going out when they need to. They'd not been making large gatherings, they'd been staying safe, very similar to how we are now. But people came out, they celebrated, it was safe to go on the streets again. We had massive, spontaneous and planned street parties, whole streets and communities coming together. Streets of the capital, London, full of people, waving flags, celebrating. Massive, massive crowds outside Buckingham Palace to see Queen Elizabeth, now Queen, or the Queen Mother, and the royal family, King George. Now, Queen Elizabeth, our current Queen, is actually, or were actually believed and, have admitted to sneaking out of the palace and celebrating amongst the people. Still saying that it was one of the most memorable nights of her life. The pubs stayed open late and celebrations continued well into the night. But it wasn't a surprise. Germany's surrender was not unexpected and had been anticipated for some time. We were winning. It was known we were winning. After D-Day, the tide of the war had turned and we were pushing the Nazi Germans back. The Allies were winning and moving towards Berlin. But it was still a day of mixed emotions. And like us, with the end of this lockdown, with the end of the concerns over COVID-19, not everyone will be in the mood to celebrate. Many people have been affected greatly, may have lost loved ones, may have been affected themselves. But now it's over, really there's now time to reflect on the impacts that's had. 67,200 civilians were killed, 383,700 members of the British Armed Forces. Massive numbers of deaths affecting many, many households around the country. And it was Churchill's swan song. He was really our war prime minister. Some of his finest hours, but he was not to be the long-term prime minister. Very shortly after the war, he left, and then we had another prime minister in place, Clement Attlee, who then put the country back together. And it was him, Clement Attlee, we've got to thank really for the NHS and the welfare state, the systems that are in place even today protecting us in these times. But it did take time to shake it off. It took time to rebuild. Public buildings open, the economy restarted and reopened. This is what we've got to remember. World War II was as significant, more significant in many, many ways than what we are going through now. But we survived. As a country we survived, as a world we survived. It made us stronger, it brought us together, and we moved on and we got to where we are today. So whatever the impacts of what's going on now, we can look back on this and say, right, victory in Europe, we did that. Victory in Japan, we did that. We can overcome this and life will return and it will go back to a form of normal. Maybe not the same normal, but normal all the same.